only started plastic-free packaging in 2023. Until then, we wouldn't even sell on Amazon. We were letting go of certain kind of margins or marketplaces just so that we could stick to our principle, and we have done that. So yeah, I mean, being plastic neutral is something that was very important. Hence, Nitara.
Got it.
The thought came first, then the name, and yeah, and then rest is history. So we couldn't get NITARA because of some trademark issues. So we decided to do some wordplay around it.
Got it. Got it. I think all the more reason for you to play around with Myntra, because you will get a lot of searches basis that. So that will help on that. Just a sec. I think Karan has also joined in. Okay. Nope. Okay.
By the way, just to add, Adhir, I just realized we use your products in our household. I've used your Havan cups. I think they were there in one of the D2C bags goodie bags that they send, right, after the events.
Correct.
Those
The
are
biggest insider.
my mother is totally obsessed with them.
Amazing. That's amazing to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think so. Let me start. I think the session is being recorded, so it can be shared with the other set of people. Because I have a hard stop at 11:15, 11:30. So let's start on that bit. Quick introduction. My name is Prateek. I have worked in retail for almost 15 years now. Started with a media startup in Bangalore. Loved the city, but got tempted and got an interesting opportunity with Reliance, and then moved to Bombay. I was setting up Hamleys in India, so that was my second role, where I was doing marketing for Hamleys and also looking at expansions for Hamleys in the country. But I didn't like Bombay as a city. Sorry, Jenny, on that bit, but it's an acquired taste, I think. So I was like more than happy to move from Bombay, and I got an opportunity to join Myntra. And at that time, I had an option of Amazon and Myntra. I'm a big believer on homegrown brands, and that was one of the key reasons that I chose Myntra at that time. It worked for my favor. I started with kids category because I was coming from Hamley's background, and then over a period of time, I cut across different categories. So the categories that I've handled were kids, home, accessories, sports, footwear. And in the last stint that I was managing at Myntra a year back, I was also scaling up the beauty charter. So 2020 onwards, I was scaling up beauty and footwear together at Myntra. In between, I did a small stint with the lingerie category also, just before COVID, and we saw a good inflection point on that. So it gave a very wider experience of different categories and different brands, not only from the international brands of like Nike and Levi's and Crocs, but also from the D2C perspective, from likes of Boat to Mamaearth to McAfee and Sugar. So this gave me a point of view of how exactly beauty categories being functioning versus sports categories functioning versus different category. Then I wanted a change, because it was almost 8.5 years with Myntra, and it was changing the way I would not want it to change. So I moved down, and I joined a company called Ace Turtle, where there are fashion vertical where we manage lead, Angler, Dockers in the country. These three brands. There is kids vertical, which is Toys R Us, Babies R Us. So I manage the marketing charter for Toys R Us and setting up this brand in the country. And third is we also manage Nike online piece in India. So that means the Nike online business of Flipkart Myntra is managed out of Ace Shuttle, and I lead that conversation also. Uh, the reason I chose kids category again after Hamleys and after Myntra was, and this is a point that you should also keep in mind from a TAM perspective, each category will have their own benefits. But when I was doing my due diligence for kids as a category, I realized India is largest population in the world, so kids are not going anywhere. It's a recession-free category. I might compromise on my buying sneakers, but I might not compromise on my toys for my nephew, for example. It is also a big segment and a big market with only one organized player of Hamleys. So there's an opportunity there. And if you've seen any life cycle, and I was just having a very fun conversation with a friend where I realized that from moving from drinking Old Monk to moving to drink Macallan, it would have been a 10-year journey or a 15-year journey for somebody. But for toys, it starts from 0 to 15, and then from 15 to 30, you are building up your personality. And then when you are a young parent, you're buying again. And when you move to becoming a grandparent, you buy toys again. So the life cycle for toys is actually more than 50, 60 years. So that's a quick introduction about me. I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, born and brought up in Indore, studied in Delhi and Pune, and now made my base in Bangalore. Cool. So I don't. Karan asked me to make some presentation, and I'm like, this is the last thing I would want to do and make bore everybody with that. But what I've done is, in the interest of everybody's time, I've kept like a four slider. This is just to give a headers in terms of what you should expect from marketplace and what marketplace expects out of you. So if that alignment is taken care of, that helps in a lot of way. I've also taken a bit of a liberty where I have put up a map of all the marketplaces with the segregation in terms of from their onboarding to their marketing to their reconciliation and everything. And that is basis, and that's personal view. So I have managed, say, Myntra, Flipkart for longest, so I know their functioning. But because of my brand friends in different brands, I also know how they operate with, say, an Ajio and an Amazon. I consult to you due to few brands. I just started investing last year onwards. So I've invested in a homegrown brand called Comet, if you guys have heard of it. It's a sneaker brand. And so through that also I get to expose myself to different marketplaces and niche marketplaces. So quickly moving to the deck, let me see if I can show this. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Cool. So, what are we discussing here is how do we grow on marketplaces? Uh, I am saying what do we want? How do we approach? What are the kind of cheat codes that you can use? And a comparison table for key marketplaces. This is purely from my understanding as of now. I'm going to take like 10, 15, maximum 20 minutes to wrap this bit up. And then I would want to keep it open for quick conversations, which can be specific to each category and each brand. Because this is a mixed bag. It's not very, very specific to only fashion. But to Adi, to your point, when you mentioned that Myntra, Ajio should be platforms of choice or not, yours is, and they at the end of the day is still a lifestyle product, right? It is a lifestyle conversation, and you should be present on these platforms. Obviously, each platform will have to cater different output to. So, a Flipkart, Amazon might be for your liquidation and scale, but from a brand building perspective, you need to be present on the platforms like Myntra, Ajio, and Tata Click also. Good to go, guys?
Yes.
Sure. So what do we want? So as brands, what do you want from a marketplace? You would want new users, you would want healthy revenue, you would want to use this as a branding channel and a branding opportunity. You would want to get a lot of consumer and category insights from a platform because they'll get to know what is working, what is not working. Are there possibilities to have potential partnership and associations that can be enabled by the platform? This is what a brand would always should seek, and most of the brands that I have worked with, they want to leverage that kind of reach of a platform, and obviously the best practices that comes across, because platforms have done that kind of tinkering with multiple brands in multiple price point, multiple categories and subcategories. So this is more from a brand point of view. You guys can add more elements that what would be your expectations from a marketplace, but this is basis my understanding that these are the top things that a brand would want from a marketplace. And when I say healthy revenue, it also means that you are letting go of a certain amount of margin to be on a marketplace, but ensuring that there's not a reconciliation issue, the returns are reduced, and all those things. While what would marketplace want from a brand like yours? They would want obviously a high margin. They would want to see that if I'm giving you that kind of a scale and a market in one go, can we get high margins from you guys? Every marketplace has a average margin. It's up to the showcase of the brand and the need gap of the category that you guys are filling in. They can go up and down on that margin. Marketplace needs exclusivity because it's a clutter out there. Every brand, every platform wants to have a differentiation. So today, if I give you an example from Myntra, Myntra gets H&M as an exclusive brand. It adds more fashionable quotient to Myntra. While a lot of Reliance Brands Limited brands are exclusive to Ajio, that gets them more mass premium to bridge to luxury kind of showcase to their platform. So exclusivity works in a different way for these set of brands. Uh, Unique and in-demand products. I recently got a call from three streetwear brands like a collective from Blue Orange, Almost Gods, and Jaywalking, and they said right now all the marketplaces wants them to be on their platform, but they're not too sure how to go about it because discounting is a challenge, the brand representation is a challenge. Will getting a new set of customer versus diluting a brand a trade-off that they are ready to do that kind of a unique situation that they are in place. But marketplace would want them to be marketplace would be chasing these guys because right now they are in demand. So what are the in demand products that you can be catering to? Monetization is something that I've managed for larger period at Myntra, so I know most of the marketplaces today to become more faster profitable and to recover more burn that they're doing. The monetization is a challenge, is a channel that they operate on, and that is where they'll seek it from the brands in terms of visibility, in terms of solutioning, in terms of IP creation, and all those things. Uh, can they'll also be looking at doing this more from a category enhancement point of view. So if I give say Jay's example, and if Bliss Club today is solving for an inclusive sportswear solutioning, and you are solving for inclusive uh, formal wear solutioning or casual wear solutioning, in that capacity, can they put this as a new subcategory within women's wear?
Hmm.
Right? So for marketplace, that's a category enhancement which they need to keep doing every now and then from a evolvement perspective. And reducing CAC. I think CAC you guys any which ways do for your individual brands, but for a marketplace, the cost of customer acquisition is quite high. So they leverage certain brands which gets them more conversion at a lesser price, and that is what they will use certain brands and certain categories showcase for. Any questions, pointers on this one?
Just wanted to understand a little bit on how the monetization bit works.
So monetization is basically that once you have listed on the platform, then any
Hmm.
visibility or any avenue that you would want to use, the platform will start charging you for that. So whether
Okay, the
it's a
ad spends and all of
ad
that.
spends and all.
Okay.
So
Oh,
they will
got it.
charge you for even a social post,
Hmm.
right? They
Hmm.
will charge you for an email or notification and a visibility that you want exclusively for your brand. Where you can play smartly is if there are certain category promotions that are happening
Hmm.
where they're tagging the entire category,
Hmm.
you should ensure that you are tagged in those conversations because that's an
Promotions.
organic
Hmm.
visibility for you guys.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, I would want to ask one question that on the left side, from a brand point of view, what are the other things or requirements that you would have from a place like a marketplace or a platform apart from these?
I think it covers most of it.
By the way, it just came to my mind because this is one conversation we had with a beauty brand long back, where they came to us with a request where they wanted to get into diversification, and they reached out to
Hmm.
us to understand where the need gap of the platform is or what people are searching for, and which all categories and subcategories that they need to diversify in.
Hmm.
Because at a certain level, once you have reached a critical mass, and you would want to expand your category also,
Hmm.
right? So that is also where a
Yeah.
marketplace can help. So
Yes.
when I say partnership and association and enablement, this also can be added to that,
Hmm.
in terms of what are the other kind of brands that your TG or your customer is buying on the platform.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, if I may answer the question from our side, I mean, we would love to also have some customer data. which marketplaces unfortunately do not share.
No,
And
so if you ask them a pointed question, they might not, but there are certain platforms which have their customer insights available readily. Like Flipkart, Myntra have their insights platform, where if you are a listed vendor and you are already participating on their monetization charter, then they will give you those insights for your particular brand. So where your audience is coming from, which city, what is the gender ratio, age bracket, all those things are readily available. What
but we can't retarget them in any way. Like how we can retarget them if they come back to our website.
Yeah, obviously you can't retarget them because that's their data, that platform's data. But what you can leverage that with is if your website data says ABC and platform data says PQR, then you need to understand what kind of communication needs to be done, because it needs to be in sync with that capacity, right? The
Right.
DG cannot change drastically on a platform.
Got it.
Moving on. So this is a no-brainer, but I'll just tell you how a brand sees themselves on a platform, while how a platform sees themselves. A brand will always want to prioritize their own brand, right? And then they would want to have some bit of a share of voice within the category, and then they would want to have a certain bit of share of voice within the platform, which is the larger chunk. While from a marketplace perspective, they will always and always prioritize the platform. They will not prioritize one single brand, even if it's as exclusive as, say, an H&M or as big a brand as Nike. A platform showcase takes the precedence, then the category showcase takes the precedence, and then the brand comes. Where we need to find an alignment is that can we put up a like a Venn diagram to say how much you would want your brand representation in a brand way, how much you would want to participate in a category conversation, and how much you would want to do in a platform conversation. If I need to give you an example for it, uh, say on Myntra, the biggest sale happens as end of reason sale, right? Uh, in end of reason sale, the usual suspects that you see as a title sponsor will always be the likes of Puma, Boat, USPA, Lakme. Now, these are the regular brands which would want to have their share of voice at a platform level highlighted, while certain brands would want to only own up the category conversations. So they will take up the sports page, or they'll take a beauty page, or they'll take something else as a category showcase. And then there are brands which will say, I'll not want to take up a larger chunk in category and brand, but I only want to play on a brand conversation. And each brand defines this basis their budget, basis their life cycle, basis their priority of the platform, and accordingly they keep changing that. Any doubts? Did you get that reference clearly? Hello?
Understood.
Understood. Uh, and coming on to the cheat codes, this is again off the cuff conversations. How do you align your calendar, the category calendar, and the platform calendar? So, for example, uh, if Adi's brand is regarding home, and it's like it's a full year conversation, but if there are certain spike times for home category, how do you align it with a platform, and how do you align it from your brand calendar perspective? So if you do that, it becomes easier to spread your communication in that capacity. Second is on the marketing investments. I personally feel that the first marketing investment will always be for your own .com, your own Instagram, your own organic channels. But you should have a certain bit of budget for your marketing partners, as in marketplace partners. And it can be part of that whole margin conversation itself. Because the moment you start putting those marketing dollars on any marketplace, their support and their intent to grow you goes higher. And the easiest way is when you get into a contractual conversation with them. One of the best cases that I've seen is a brand says you get 3% of my GMV as marketing, for example. So now it's marketplace's responsibility is to increase your GMV so that they get the 3% value gets higher with that. Uh, Third is experimentation, and that is where Adil, your question of what do we do with that data? So if you can get more data from your marketplaces, what kind of experimentations that can be done? Can can there be a combo for Havan cups and ethnic wear? Because somebody might be buying an ethnic wear for a puja at home, right? Uh, so, what kind of experimentations that can be enabled by a marketplace? If there is a beauty and or say plus size clothing that you guys are enabling J from a J, am I spelling
Yes,
pronouncing it
yes,
right?
yeah.
J. So from a J perspective, if I get to see that any other sports brand is also selling a plus size product, what kind of association that can be done on the platform for you? Can
Hmm.
that be a common solution? So a lot of experimentations should be done, can be done with the marketplace. And my suggestion is once a quarter, there should be a crazy experiment. Even if it's this not giving you any result, it's giving you a certain amount of learning. So at least once a quarter, there should be an experimentation that a brand should do. Uh,
Kotha, I had
Unique.
a question here.
Hey, hi Karan. Sorry,
Hi.
I can't see anybody or see the chat.
Yeah, I actually got a little late in joining. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Uh, yeah, and guys like Kotha is one of the experts, in like scaling brands across like Myntra and like some amazing marketplaces. So, yeah, like when you talk about experiments, right? So, can you give some examples? मतलब ऐसा होगा कि suppose अगर like if with every Bliss Club order, just suppose Aditya sells protein bars. So we are sending a protein bar, like we do a partnership with the platform that every Bliss Club order Myntra is sending a protein bar. Yeah, like are those the experiments? Have we do brand collabs where like if there is Bliss Club listed on Myntra, we partner with a Bliss Club to say ki, why don't you kind of include my product in your order in your Myntra order as well.
So what happened? I got your question, Karan. So there are 2, 3 ways of partnerships and experimentation. One is, like you said, Fit Feast goes and partners with Bliss Club. The challenge with Bliss Club would be if they do this only for Myntra, they have to do it on their own .com also, because for a consumer, they should get the same experience at both the places. Myntra will not allow it from adding without their alignment because it adds on to their supply chain causes certain weight and all those things. It needs to be enabled by a platform. So that's option one. Option two is at a brand level collaboration also. So for example, last association that I was driving was Maybelline and Puma. So what was the solutioning? Puma wanted more women consumer and Maybelline wanted more consumers on the platform. So because I was managing both the brands, I told Maybelline team that Puma is the biggest brand on the platform in terms of users right now. Let's partner with them. And Puma, Maybelline is a women-centric brand, so any consumer that will be buying Maybelline will also get exposed to Puma. So the experimentation was that can we create a look which is your makeup by Maybelline and the fit is by Puma. So that is at a brand level collaboration enabled by Myntra. Now there's a third level of collaboration or partnership experimentation that can be done, which is more from an avenue perspective, the ad avenues that we do on the platform from a banner perspective or a database perspective. Uh, so we were launching a Nike shoe, a running shoe, and we realized that it's a very, very high price point item. But the good side was that we had only limited pairs, like it was only 800 pairs available in the country. But the target that Nike team had given us was that they want to make a story out of it. They want to make a story of selling it better, selling it fast. Like imagine making a story of a fastest running shoe selling out fast. That's the communication that they've had. So instead of going crazy by doing partnerships or anything, because we had only 800 pairs, we used CRM as a tool where we tinkered the communication. So we said anybody who's bought Nike, who's a Nike loyalist, we send them out a mailer talking about the best from Nike is here. Anybody like you who's not buying Nike but buying say Asics and New Balance and everything else, but not Nike, the person gets an emailer which says, try Nike. Somebody who's bought running shoes 8 months back, which is usually the life cycle for a running shoe, depending on marathons and runs that you do. So if it's 8 month cycle, then we are sending somebody a message saying, time to upgrade. The best from Nike is here. So your communication to these cohorts are changing. The title is changing. The content remains the same. The product remains the same. And it actually helped.
Yeah. No, I think this is a wonderful idea, but how expensive is it, like, for like a early stage brand? Like, is it, I mean, like, well, for Nike and Puma, though I understand, right? But, for smaller brands, is something like this affordable? Like, can they try some activations? I mean, which, I mean, like, could give them good results in a decent budget?
So, see, that is where the challenge is. D2C wave and not this, how would I say? I would not want to discourage anybody here on that bit. I personally. No, I'm just saying, at least from a consumer point of view, my understanding, at least from marketplaces, is that the wave that was there from 15 to 22 is where a lot of D2C brands scaled up because there was money being pumped by marketplaces, right? Right now, the market is getting cluttered because back in 2018, there were only 2 players or 3 players. Now today there are 6 players, 7 players. And everybody is chasing profitability. So what happens is monetization becomes a key angle to it. What they need to look at it today is, can they pinpoint a brand and say, this brand is going to be the next unicorn. This brand will add to my category. This brand will get me new customers. And that is why they will start investing in you. They might reduce the costs. They might allow you to do more experimentations. They might not charge you the kind of money that they're charging the likes of Nike, Puma, but they will be more open to do that kind of experimentation with you. And there are programs that they've started. So I don't know about Flipkart, but Myntra has started something called Rising Stars. So which is where they're focusing on the new age D2C brands. They are giving them different packages, which is not at the same cost of what they give it to anybody else. So today, if Jay needs to be placed next to a Bliss Club, is still a good conversation versus Jay being placed next to an only on Veromoda today, right? So they just create a sub ecosystem within that platform, which enables a new D2C brands to grow faster. So my suggestion is, there are more and interesting ways to do that kind of experimentation.
Got it.
We need to figure that out, and it needs to sync very well with not only the budget that we would have to spend on, but also more from a positioning and offering that we are doing. Cool.
Got it. Makes sense. I think Adhir had a question.
Yeah, Adhir, you're on mute, I guess.
Actually, my question was regarding what Karan asked, basically how to go about with the partnerships. Because what you mentioned was great. So yeah, but it's been answered. Thanks, Prateek.
Cool. So I'll move back to the deck because there's only 2 more slides. I'll anyway share it with Karan and the group so you can take it at ease. Full disclaimer, personal views. I just made it in the morning today when I was sitting and making my understanding of all the platforms. It is just easier for you to then prioritize your platforms when you're going forward in terms of listing, in terms of marketing and all those things. Shifting. You guys can see the screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So experimentations, as we discussed, there are multiple ways: brand to brand experimentation, brand to platform, brand to brand via platform. A lot of ways you can use it, from touch points also. Say, for example, there's a protein bar brand also on the call, right? If there is a route that Whole Truth has taken of educating customers, is there a route that you can take it more from a realistic consumer showcase on a marketplace perspective? As Karan gave an example, Bliss Club and protein bar going hand in hand, right? can there be a unique collection and offering that can be made specifically for a marketplace? Because that is something that excites them anytime. Today, a brand might not be exclusive to a platform, but they might be making a collection exclusively for that particular marketplace. Sorry, my examples are more sports related, but it will give you the sense that I'm trying to build up here. I'll give you a D2C example also for the same thing. So for Puma created two sub brands within the country, one with Virat Kohli, which is 1/8, and one with KL Rahul, which is called Wonder. Now, 1/8 became an exclusive conversation with Myntra because we co-created that pitch deck and presented it to Kohli and got an alignment of being exclusively with Myntra for 3 years. While Wonder, for lower price point that they were offering, was more done in sync with Flipkart. The brand is not exclusive to any of the platforms, but that collection is specifically exclusive. Now, if I give you a D2C example, there's a certain collection of sugar which will be exclusive to Amazon, which they did a partnership with Made in Heaven. And there's a certain collection that is exclusively with Myntra, which we do for their IP that we have created called Sugar Rush. So sometimes a unique collection and offering will also have a different showcase with the marketplace. Coming to insights data overlapping, this is to Adil, your point, the consumer insights that you have for your brand and the consumer insights that a platform have for your brand. What is the kind of overlap that can be done? And what is the kind of learning exchange that can be done with that? So if a consumer is behaving in a certain way for your brand directly, there is a very high chance that that would be the similar pattern on a marketplace also, and vice versa. So you should ensure that there is a certain bit of data flow that is happening from both the sides. Another thing that excites any marketplaces today is their new touch points and avenues. So say if Flipkart is working on scaling up Spoil or anything to do with metaverse, or if Myntra is doing something with Forward, these are the new touch points. And at that moment, if you participate with them or if you give them an offering which adds on to their new avenues, new touch points, they support you slightly better than in a normal environment. And last is gratification works. So sometimes if you have to gratify from only buying perspective, do that, because that also adds on to marketplaces gratification to their customer, and it also helps you from giving a good consumer experience to a larger base. Any questions on this, guys?
Prateek, how open would a marketplace be to kind of introduce a new category? Just say, like for example, if we take Nitara's example, top of the mind, right? So they are aromatherapy space, and like if I look at Myntra, I can see home and living as one category, and I can see beauty as one category, and where both bath and body works, which is a competitor, is listed, but वो exact category जो ये करते हैं, aromatherapy is not listed. So do you recommend? Would it be a good conversation to have with them to kind of launch aromatherapy as a category, or would it be better to kind of list in existing categories and then essentially try and scale, your offering?
I think listing in the existing category is easy and would work. Creating a new category will only work when you have a certain bit of critical mass. You have like 7 brands talking about the same conversation. So before you join in, I was giving an example for streetwear brands. So I'm sure you know about Jaywalking and Blue Orange and Almost Gods, right?
Correct.
These 3 guys were individually reached out by different marketplaces. Because right now everybody is going gaga over these brands. They're highly priced, but because
I think his internet went off.
I think electricity went off.
Yeah. Adi, but like there's one very interesting point that he made, right? Like, so I was, I was looking at the home and living category and the beauty category on Myntra, and you can, like you don't have aromatherapy as a subcategory
That's
within
correct.
it, right? But Bath and Body Works is still listed, which is like like one of the biggest competitors. So how how important it is for your business to align with a particularly large category, or if it is not getting aligned, then essentially how important it is for other brands to kind of come up in that category as well, so that then marketplaces start approaching you, and there is that incoming demand as well.
That's actually a very interesting question. What we do on Amazon, I can mention because we're not really on Myntra or Ajio, but we actually align ourselves with the other categories where our competitors are at.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have to do that because, like Prateek just said, instead of creating an entire category,
Yeah.
it's easier to just align yourself and
Correct.
what's already being sold.
Correct. But and maybe like a larger conversation, but then essentially our overall business should maybe also align with that category, right? Because we can't be building one thing and then essentially be listed on another thing on another platform.
Completely agree. As a matter of fact, in our last cohort Saturday, we had Amazon guys coming. So they spoke about category managers. So in
Yeah.
this 1 week, we actioned that. We've gotten through ABA. There's an advisory services. We have taken that service from Amazon. We've also got in touch with our category manager also to get ourselves aligned in that way. So yeah, I mean, these conversations really help.
Yeah. So for sure.
Sorry, guys. There's some power outage at my end, so I'll be joining from phone for the while. What I was telling you about that collective, basically, all these brands were reached out individually by platforms like Tata Click, Ajio, and Myntra, but they were smart enough to make their own collective, and they reached out to certain people at different places asking, should we not, and if we have to go, we should go as a collective and maintain our terms in terms of branding, in terms of pricing, and not go by discounting. And that is where you can do it when you have multiple brands within that one portfolio. But if you don't have, then the easiest route is get inside and then build from within. uh, for Naitara, it will be a slightly unique case because it is going to have an overlap of home as well as beauty. So there are certain products which will be coming under home category, and there will be certain products which will be coming under beauty category. But to create that aroma subcategory, eventually will, in my head, is more of a home extension, and that is where more brands needs to come in to create that kind of a subcategory.
Got it.
So, any other question, guys? Because the last slide, which I'm not able to present right now, which I'll share it, is technically a marketplace comparison. Uh, Karan, if it's okay, I can send you that one particular slide and you
Uh,
can present.
yeah. You send me the deck. Let me just share it on the screen right now.
Okay, so
Pratik,
let me.
until then, I have a question, totally off topic, but how do you go about negotiating with marketplaces? I'm sure Toys and Us are at a different commission than anybody else. So how does that work? Of course, the concept is it works at scale,
Mhm.
but how flexible are Myntra or Argio or platform like this?
So every platform has a standard, like a non-negotiable number, uh, in terms of a number which they don't want to go below for each category. So footwear will be a different category, apparel would be different, beauty would be different, toys would be different. Now, what happens is when you go for negotiation, what are your baits? You can say, okay, I'm giving you exclusive, then this is one part of negotiation. I'm already trending, my branding is there, or I'm offering XYZ, then that's another negotiation. But if they have an average, they don't want to go below that average. That average is mostly set, where the conversation with certain category managers and your equation with these guys will help is like the way you spoke to the Amazon category guy. That guy over a period of time will tell you that their average is this, for example. Now, if you are higher than average, then your role is to get you to the average. Getting down lower than the average is very difficult. No platform allows that. Then there's a certain amount of question on the category manager because that also takes care of the PNL of that category, right? So there is a certain margin that is non-negotiable that will be there. The only way you can play around, say for example, if a brand is if the platform is asking 20%, right? Example, you can say, I will give you 15, but I'll spend 5 in marketing, right? So 15 plus 5. So technically your margin is 15. 5 is what you are spending for your marketing on their platform. Your margin is still 20, but 5 is being used for yourself, right? uh, Exclusivity, then the margin goes down. The kind of model that you are operating at, if it's an outright model, the margins would be much higher. If it's a SOR model, then margin would be slightly lesser. If it's a full marketplace model, then it is going to be much lesser than that. So you need to figure out what the average is for each of these categories. And for your case, because as I said, you are cutting across two different categories, there might be a possibility that you should have a sub brand then, or a different brand. I was actually going through another cohort member, Leah Clothing, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what they've done is they segregated their brands. Now each brand can have a different margin because that is getting listed separately.
Hmm.
Got it. Also, like in Amazon, I can very easily find out how much my competitors are doing month on month. Is that also a possibility in Myntra or Ajio? Are these insights available?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes. Obviously, that insight will come with certain, scale that you are at operating at. So if you are at, like the way you have opted for ABA, there is a certain package that you have to opt at Myntra also to get that kind of insights.
Okay, okay. Actually, I mean, truth be told, we were going to onboard on Myntra, but then when we did some backward calculation, we realized there's no point because it was really expensive, and they asked us. I told you to buy thermal printers, label, unse kharido, sab kuch kharido. We were like, let it be. Any which way it's a clothing platform, it might not be relevant. But after speaking with you, it sounds very interesting, and to create a brand, it's very important to be there, like you had mentioned earlier.
And Prateek, I think home and living and beauty are like really scaling on Myntra. What's been your take?
So, see, I'll tell you what, eventually every platform has realized that they need to cater to women audiences because their frequency, RFM, recency, frequency, and monetary value is much higher than a male consumer.
Hmm.
So, if you see any platform, their shift is creating categories and brands which are more women centric. So that's why suddenly home, beauty, these are the categories that are scaling up. If you have seen platform like Ajio, they are also highlighting certain women collection. They are getting women faces as their brand ambassador and all those things. So my suggestion is Ajio Myntra right now is in a tussle to get the market share between them. And this is an opportunity for anybody who's offering a certain amount of differentiated product. When I went through the products that Jenny has showcased through Jay or what Nitara is selling, both of these, from a consumer point of view, makes perfect sense to be present on both the platforms, right? Because this is where a consumer is looking for lifestyle product. And this slide that, because this is only one slide that I shared with you, Karan, because my laptop is also not connected because I was making the slides on the Google Slides. So net is
No
gone.
worries. No worries.
So just one spelling mistake has happened, so ignore that. Otherwise, if you go through this, this is after talking to 10 different brands across 10 different categories. This is after discussing with 5, 10 different agencies, like a middleman agencies that manage multiple brands under portfolios, right? So there are a lot of digital agencies mushrooming out of Delhi, Agra, Bombay, where they take up like a mutual fund conversation. So I go to Agra and I see there's an agency who manages 20 footwear brands together.
Interesting.
Now, what it helps them is they have the data of those 20 brands, but they also have the cheat codes and best practices for all marketplaces. So, a couple of agencies that I know, some of them are run by friends, and also I sat with them when I was working on this. I just quickly checked with them on their each pointers. So, what I could sense is certain platforms like Flipkart and Amazon is very easy to onboard you on, but certain things are not available there, right? Reconciliation is a massive, massive issue today at an Ajio. Nobody knows where the money is going. the person has sold for 60 lakhs, but the reconciliation amount is coming as 72 lakhs. It's like, by sold only 60 lakhs, then how can I get the returns of 72 lakhs? Right? So a lot of platforms have their own issues. This is only to give you a sense that which kind of platform, in terms of listing, in terms of onboarding, in terms of advertising, works. If I have to add my two more cents onto this conversation, I think Ajio, Myntra, and Tata Click, and to some extent Nykaa, is more as a branding and new user acquisition. And an Amazon and a Flipkart and Snapdeal is more from a liquidation and scale perspective.
Hmm.
You will not be able to build a brand on Amazon. And it's a big statement I'm making, but I can validate that with one statement. Nike globally does not work with Amazon. And there is a reason for it, because they realize that Amazon will not prioritize a brand, they will always prioritize the platform. I'll give you another example. Toys R Us as a brand was killed by Amazon. So if for the larger group, 2019 Amazon, Toys R Us had filed for chapter 11 in the US. They went bankrupt, and one of the biggest reason was Amazon had an exclusive association with Toys R Us for 8 years. And in those 5 6 years of 5 6 years, they understood what is selling of Toys R Us, and they created their own private label of that. So hence a platform like Amazon, Myntra, Amazon, Flipkart, and Snapdeal is good from liquidation, sale, scale perspective. But if you have to build a brand, then you should tie hands with Myntra, Ajio, and Tata Click and Nykaa in that way.
Got it.
Any questions, guys?
Prateek, on an overall level, for a fashion brand like J, if you'd like, just on an overall level, compare Myntra and Nykaa to start with. So Nykaa, so long story short, we're already on Ajio. It's really, really complex how they operate. I just don't get it. We have been approached on Nykaa. We are in the process of QC and all with them. Myntra is becoming a little difficult to onboard, but we are trying to, speak to them, and I'm sure I think I'll also speak to you about it. But like being the first time on marketplaces, what would your two pieces of advice be, and how to compare these two, Myntra and Nykaa specifically?
See, Nykaa right now, the only good part with Nykaa, which is actually, it's a double-edged sword for them. They have separate apps, right? So they have a Nykaa
Mm,
fashion app, there's a Nykaa man app, there's a Nykaa beauty app.
mm,
These are separate apps. So you're not
mm, mm.
leveraging the larger database of Nykaa that actually sits with Nykaa beauty, right?
Yes.
Uh, while Myntra, it's one database at the end of that 50 million
Mm,
user base, and that is where Myntra Beauty is also scaling faster, because they don't have to go and hunt for new customers. They're just
mm,
saying, if
mm,
I convert 20% of my existing base to beauty, like ensure that the anybody who's buying fashion on Myntra is 50 million. If I get 20% of that, that 10 million will be much higher than Nykaa, because Nykaa today sits at 8 million or 9 million right now. Nykaa Beauty,
mm,
right?
mm,
So from that
mm,
perspective, uh, I would still say, being Myntra, and there's a certain bit of biasness also with Myntra, so I would say Myntra would be a better platform on that bit. But Nykaa right now is stuck between, and this is again my understanding, that they're stuck between their own private labels that they're creating. So if you've seen something like an RSVP and Naked by
mm.
Nykaa, and there's
20
certain
dresses.
acquisitions that they've done, like a
Mm,
Kika would be like a Bliss Club equivalent in their ecosystem, right?
mm, mm,
So these are the kind of brands that they are focusing on. Plus, they are also focusing on getting certain international and national fashion labels. So
mm,
somewhere, a brand like J will get sandwiched between these two.
mm, mm,
While at Myntra's end also there's a similar challenge. You have the focus on the H&Ms of the world, Mangoes of the world, and the private labels of All About You and Raspberry, but the base itself is much wider there.
mm,
So it'll be more meatier sandwich versus what
So,
it will be on a Nykaa sandwich.
but then how do we deal with this? Because I don't think it's an option not to be on these marketplaces, right? So have to be on that marketplaces and still being able to scale on them. How do we deal with such a situation?
And that is where the data will help you. So if you can overlap that data of what your consumer in a native environment reacts versus how it is reacting on a platform, and then do that kind of tinkering on the platform. Because for
Hmm.
you to do multiple tinkering on your own native is easy because you can control
Hmm.
that environment, but the scale will not be that immediately.
Hmm.
While a little bit of tinkering of that similar consumer pattern on a marketplace can get you more results.
Hmm. Got it.
So
Understood.
I would still suggest that, if you are already on Nykaa, learn about how it is going on. I think you're on Ajio, you're getting on Nykaa, right?
Yes. Yes.
Huh. So if Ajio can help you understand how is your consumer reacting, who's buying your product and what are the other kind of categories and products they are buying, and is it resonating similarly when you are doing this in a native environment or on any other marketplaces, then it becomes easier, and you can then create custom communication, collection, and targeting on marketplace basis the way
Hmm.
their consumer is reacting for your brand.
Hmm. Hmm. Understood. That's helpful. Thank you.
No worries. Adhir, I have a
Great.
small input for your brand because I remember now I've seen somebody in my friend circle having that hanging fragrance thing in the car.
Right.
So my only point is, if you have to look up to a brand in this space, look at something like a Kimirika. They've killed it with packaging, and they actually turned they are in bath and body segment, they're not in fragrance, right? uh, Usually a brand goes B2C and then go to B2B. Kimirika played the other way around, they went B2B first. So if you go to any Novotel today or Hyatt today or even a Marriott today, you will find a Kimirika product there instead of your Forest Essentials and Kama. Second, they went through the gifting route. So your product can be a perfect gifting hamper bit for from a like can it be a must have housewarming gift? So one
Yeah.
package of gifting which is must have for housewarming versus if I'm going to somebody's house, 499 or 999 package that needs to be given. Like if I'm coming to Gurgaon tomorrow and Karan is kind enough to host me, what should I get him? I should get him this, right? So that is the kind of packaging, or those hampers is what Kimirika did very well with beauty. I was shocked. I was sitting with my friends at Blinkit, and they told me on Valentine's Day, Kimirika has this product called Love Story, which is like a hamper that they made for Valentine gifting. And it sold like anything. It got sold more than the roses. Now imagine the rose price point and a price point for a hamper which is almost $1,000.
Yeah, it's
So
18.99. I'm on the website. I can see it. Yeah, they've got wonderful packaging for sure.
yeah. So 18.99, there's another version for 12.99 which they were selling it for 9.99 on Valentine's Day. So
Okay.
what if you remember my pointers, the alignment of calendars, right? So can you create certain moments like that? Can you say that this is if there is a housewarming, no other gift to be given but a Nitara package, which has five different things. It also has the Havan Doop, it also have aromatherapy, it has soap, it has everything.
Got it. Great. Thank you so much. This is a great input. I mean, I think we haven't thought of housewarming as a gifting set, but this looks this is great. I mean, yeah, we can actually kill that category.
Yeah, housewarming is one category. Even a lot of puja these days. I was talking to a friend who got into footwear and now making open footwear because they realize that everybody struggles to find a good footwear during Diwali, right? They'll wear a kurta pajama, but they'll have a sneaker with it. So can they have a slightly more fashionable slide which is pertinent for puja events? Now, if there's any puja happening now, whether it's a car puja, it's a home housewarming puja, if it is a mundan in the house, you can have multiple packages with your products itself. It's just the umbrella changes. So you need to figure out what the TAM looks like, and accordingly, you can make those four categories and kill it in that. At least two will click, and those two will at least give you that kind of scale.
Yeah, super.
Cool. Any more questions,
Amazing.
guys? So,
Pratik, if it's
Karan,
okay,
I just
we can add.
wanted to keep it more interactive if it's okay, because I was thinking more questions would be. It's better to answer questions than just putting free flowing inputs from my side.
No, yeah, for sure, and we'll bug you. We'll bug you more. If it's okay, we'll add you in our group. Founders, can like directly reach out. And if they have any questions, it'll be great if you can help. Right. By the
So,
way, who was your friend? Close acquaintance, was it Anand Narayanan? Like,
no, no, no,
I
no, no.
uh,
In terms of
uh,
what?
no, you said no, you discovered Kimirika products with somebody. So I thought
No, no,
or maybe
Kimirika. So I got to know Kimirika. I got to know through Aman because Aman invested in Kimirika in his individual capacity.
got
And
it.
for me, Kimirika became an interesting study because it comes from Indore. So I'm from Indore, so I was very happy. So when I met the founders also, and the reason I keep asking everybody to tell me where the story of the name comes in, because each brand has to have a story also in that way. So
Yeah.
the two brothers, Mohit and Vaibhav, I think. I met Mohit. He's the CEO right now. So Mohit and Vaibhav or some other guy, I'm forgetting his brother's name. Both their wife's name is like one's name is Kimi and other's name is Rika. So they made it like a brand like that.
Interesting.
And so that's why when I asked Adhir also that what is the rationale behind Nitara, and I know that it now means deep rooted and coming from that whole thought of
Yeah.
uh, coming from nature.
Yeah. Also, like all the brands in our portfolio are also looking to raise. So if Aman or Anand want to put in a small check, we are open. So
Yeah, sure, sure.
if any of your parties, do tag us, take us along. Like,
Ah,
happy to take a small check from these guys.
for sure, for sure.
ठीक है bro. Thank you so much. I like really love that chat. I'll add you to a group. मुझे deck भेज देना. I'll share it with the founders and
Sure.
collaborating. But thank you so much for your time. Like really, really appreciate it. And
No worries.
thank you time on a Saturday.
No worries. And which new sneaker are you buying now? Or should I send you Comet discount code so that you can also return the favor by buying somebody from my investments?
Yeah. So Comet, I'm an investor in. So मुझे
Oh, you
वैसे
are
ही
already invested in Comet. I didn't see you on cap table then.
yeah, I'm through an founder RUV. So
Ah, okay. So you've
so
already
but
met Utkarsh and Dishant?
yeah.
Nice. Chalo, good to know
But
that we are on the same cap table on that.
I say you can send me New Balance OTs, Nikes,
Sure.
Samba. You can
I'll send you 50% off on the Adidas. Cool.
great,
Pass
great.
on
Thanks, guys.
the code, Karan.
Cool, guys. Thank you.
Well,
Nice
thank
Thank
chatting.
you
Best
so
of
much.
luck.
Thank you so
So
much.
much.
all right.
Thank you.
Also, one small suggestion, if I may, and this is where actually Utkarsh, who's the co-founder for Comet, did a very smart way because he said that you keep going and meeting people, and they know that you are in the sneaker space or you have an interest in this, and they keep asking you for either a discount or a suggestion. Like Karan asked me for suggestion in terms of which next brand I should buy. Uh, so that person made a custom code for me for Comet. Now, in your ecosystem, your friends and family, who are your biggest cheerleaders, even if you find five people who are slightly more networked, like even if it's current for you guys right now, so you make a current custom code to then see what is the kind of social mileage that this guy gets you in terms of orders
Yeah,
also. And that will be like
Hmm.
10
love
fifteen
that.
percent off, but it's also a good word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it translates in certain amount of sale. And forget the sale, you are also getting your brand exposed to somebody new.
Hmm.
Yeah, love the idea.
Cool. Thank you. Take care,
Great.
guys.
All right, bro. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
Bye-bye.
much.
much.
Thank you, Prateek.
Thank you.
See
Thank
you on
you.
the touch. See you.
Sure.
Bye.